Organs of government. Legislature. Government is the machinery of the state which consists of three organs or branches: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Of these three organs, the legislature is the most important because it alone knows the hopes and aspirations of the people and expresses them in the form of laws. It may be noted that making of laws is not the only function of the legislature. It also performs several other functions. Thus, it controls the finances of the state and determines the ways and means of raising the revenue and spending it. In a parliamentary system of government, the legislature controls the executive and lays down the policy to be followed by it. Under presidential system, where the executive is not accountable to the legislature exercised indirect control over executive. Legislature also enjoys important judicial powers and can impeach political officials. The legislature also plays an important role in the amendment of the constitution and performs some electoral functions as well. In short, the legislature, apart from its basic function of enactment and amendment of law, also performs several other functions. The legislature can be either single-chambered or bicameral. By and large, countries have favored bicameral legislature, even though some regard the second chamber as superfluous. The arguments advanced in favor of bicameral legislature include: it prevents the undue concentration of political power in a single chamber, it acts as a check on hasty and rash legislation, it is essential in a country with federal system of government, it provides representation to special interests, eminent persons, scholars, etc., can be nominated to upper house. However, the opponents of second chamber have argued that the second chamber cannot exercise any effective control over the popular house. To reconsider laws passed by the popular house constitutes waste of time and energy. Its utility under a federal system is doubtful because the members of upper house are always elected on party lines. The second house tends to act as a stronghold of vested interests. Economically also, it is not desirable to have a second chamber. There is no unanimity regarding satisfactory method of constituting second chamber. Despite the above shortcomings of the upper house, it serves a useful purpose. It can initiate non-controversial bills and thus save the variable time of the popular house. Further, it can revise the bills passed by the popular house and remove the shortcomings which might have been inadvertently left. The executive. This is the second organ of the government which is responsible for the enforcement of laws as well as general administration. The executive also puts into practice the decisions taken by the judiciary. The executive can be hereditary as in Britain or elected as in India. Again, a distinction is drawn between the nominal and the real executive. In Britain, the Queen is the nominal executive head of the state, and the real executive authority is exercised by the cabinet headed by the Prime Minister. On the other hand, USA has an executive who wields real powers. Apart from the enforcement of the laws passed by the legislature, the executive also performs several functions. Thus, it is responsible for the maintenance of peace, it undertakes several activities of public utility. The executive represents the country in foreign countries, it appoints diplomatic representatives to other countries and receives their diplomatic representatives, it concludes treaties with foreign countries. In the military field, it is responsible for the prosecution of war. During such an eventuality, the executive assumes enormous powers, including the power to suspend the fundamental rights of the citizens. It can also suspend ordinary laws and promulgate martial law, during the war or even when there is a threat of war. In the legislative field, the executive enjoys the power to summon, prorogue and dissolve the legislature. Most of the important bills are piloted by the ministers in the parliament. The laws passed by the legislature can be vetoed by the executive. In the financial sphere also, the executive plays a vital role. It submits budget proposals and ensures that the money is spent for the purpose for which it is voted by the legislature. Above all, the executive enjoys the power to grant pardon and reprieve. In most of the countries, the executive is concerned with the appointment of judges. Judiciary. Judiciary is the third organ of the government. Though this branch of the government does not occupy as prominent position as the other two organs viz. The legislature and the executive, however, in a democratic system it occupies a preeminent position and dispenses justice to the citizens. In this process it protects the rights and liberties of the people and punishes those who are found guilty of violating the laws. In short, it can be said that it acts as the guardian of the rights of the people and shields the innocent. In the absence of an efficient judiciary, the rights and liberties of the people would be jeopardized. Delay in imparting justice can pose a serious threat to the life, liberty and property of the people. The judiciary also performs important legislative functions. It imparts meaning to a law which is not clear and thus contributes to the making of the laws. Sometimes a case may not be covered by an existing law. In such cases, the judges decide the cases on the basis of their common sense. Such decisions serve as precedents for similar cases in future. The laws thus enacted by the judiciary are known as judge-made laws or case laws. The judiciary also contributes to the growth of the laws by imparting new meanings to the existing laws in accordance with the changed conditions. The judiciary exercises control over legislature and executive through its power of judicial review. It can pronounce upon the constitutionality of a law and set aside executive actions which are unconstitutional. The judiciary also tenders advice to the executive regarding the constitutionality of a law. It also appoints certain officials to administer estates and decide cases of bankruptcy etc. Above all, it issues writs for the protection of citizens' rights.